They need to fortify this election once again, because after 7 years of propaganda and race riots, inflation, some people are starting to see through this, and they may not do what we want them to do. So what is up? My name is Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back. This, of course, is the epicenter for all of your current and captivating coastal elite chaos. So please hit that subscribe button, like the video, ring the notification bell, leave a comment or two, share this with a friend. Let's go. They've got him now. This is really a never-ending boy who cried wolf, chicken little, the sky is falling narrative. After more than 6 years of media meltdowns and propaganda, riots, pharmaceuticals, phone calls, Ukraine, Russia, P-tapes, mean tweets, the list goes on. This is where we are now. The Colorado Supreme Court takes Donald Trump off the ballot, and this is really embarrassing third world banana republic type of nonsense. These people have been trying to get rid of Donald Trump since Inauguration Day. Well, really before that, but all the way back in 2017, the Washington Compost is talking about how they need to start the impeachment into Trump or whatever. And then they fortified the 2020 election to keep all of us safe. They blanketed the country with mail-in ballots because the air was deadly. And I, right now, want to take a look back at some of the events that led up to this Colorado Supreme Court decision. And I did, for the record, make a video a really long time ago about some of the events that led up to Rona. It is sometime in March 2020. We're about waist deep in the Corona apocalypse right now. And some people are saying, oh, you better obey the orders and stay home. If you go outside, you're going to kill all of us. And some people are saying, don't worry about it. It's a hoax. It's the flu. We're going to be fine. And I don't know. I don't have the answers to either one of those questions, but I do have a couple questions of my own because the timing is just a little bit too convenient. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's all fake, but I do think it deserves a little bit of questioning, especially considering over the last 3 or 4 years, at least, we've seen a string of events either caused by or used to the advantage of the Democratic Party and the left-wing media, but I repeat myself. And that was when I thought this was all about getting rid of Trump, not really this entire world takeover that it has turned into. But the events still happened. I can't connect them all in a straight line, but clearly something is up. As they say, pattern recognition can be considered a conspiracy theory at this point in time. But anyhow, all the way back in 2017, the Washington Compost writes, the campaign to impeach President Trump has begun. Then in April of 2017, Politico writes, all of Trump's Russia ties in 7 charts. Then in October of 2019, NBC, I would like you to do us a favor. The 30-minute phone call that changed Trump's presidency. And that was all pre-Rona. So then 2020 rolls around. It's all Trump's fault, but also taking any action to stop it would be considered xenophobic or racist or whatever. You also had several high-profile Democrats saying that they would not take a Trump-approved vaccine.
If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it, absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
So the first question is the vaccine safe? Frankly, I'm not going to trust the federal government's opinion. And I wouldn't recommend to New Yorkers based on the federal government's opinion.
But 6 or 8 months go by, and it is now a Biden vaccine, and it's totally mandatory. You can't get into Trader Joe's unless you prove that you did this because, I mean, Rona is just so scary, and only the farm mafia can save you from it. Meanwhile, the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. You were kicked off social media for suggesting anything outside of that could be possible, and he hadn't paid taxes in at least 5 or so years. But also, Joe Biden is constantly saying, pay your fair share, Jack, and he's screaming and he's whispering and all that.
But all I'm asking is pay your fair share. Pay your fair share. Pay your fair share.
It's all really insulting, but some people are still not able to see how little this political regime really thinks of you. There's also Hunter Biden's gun charges, baby mama drama, 10% for the big guy. But all that aside, Trump should be disqualified. And in other White House shenanigans, you had the topless transformer partying at a pride celebration at the White House or whatever, the luggage thief, the assistant secretary of health, Rachel Levine, this new young, we'll call him a content creator who recorded himself doing disgusting things in a Senate hearing room and then blamed bigots for calling him out for who he loved or whatever. But it's like, dude, you are loving who you love in a hearing room and then posted it to the internet for all to see. And they talk about this as sacred, hallowed grounds, but apparently it's sacred, hallowed grounds for the twinks to get their rocks off. And I'm sure that guy in particular was really just loving it. You know, real voyeur kind of being in public adds to the thrill. But not just being in public. I mean, we're talking about a governmental office. You know, they're really dropping their flag. They're marking their territory. And I remember years ago, they had a complete hissy fit, meltdown, temper tantrum because Kellyanne Conway kneeled on the couch or something in the Oval Office. But then when it gets the full context, as they like to say, she was taking pictures of the meeting that was going on, and they were just offended. The pearls were clutched. How dare she put her feet on the couch? And you fast forward a couple years, and this guy is doing much more than putting his feet on the couch. You also have the horrible, botched Afghanistan pullout with billions of dollars worth of equipment left behind, people trying to ride on planes out of Afghanistan like a New York City subway surfer or something like that, and I'm not really sure how they thought that would end. And that was, of course, naturally followed immediately by another war in which we were required to love and support Ukraine, that, of course, meaning your money is theirs now. There was also the notorious brown suit, "Our patience is wearing thin" speech, which I remember at the time thinking that was the declaration of war.
Many of us are frustrated with the nearly 80 million Americans who are still not vaccinated, even though the vaccine is safe, effective, and free. My message to unvaccinated Americans is this: what more is there to wait for? What more do you need to see? We've made vaccinations free, safe, and convenient. The vaccine has FDA approval. Over 200 million Americans have gotten at least one shot. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
Right? Creepy old man in a brown suit demands that you take his pharmaceutical, and he was very angry at the people who didn't. Our patience is wearing thin would have been inappropriate if their weirdo pharmaceutical elixir worked perfectly, but it didn't. And there's also loads of footage of them, you know, Democratic establishment politicians saying that you won't get it. You're going to be fine, right? The CDC director.
This is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated. We are seeing outbreaks of cases in parts of the country that have low vaccination coverage because unvaccinated people are at risk. And communities that are fully vaccinated are generally faring well. The good news is that if you're fully vaccinated, you are protected against severe COVID, hospitalization, and death, and are even protected against the known variants, including the Delta variant circulating in this country. If you are not vaccinated, you remain at risk.
You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Loads of people were literally saying that it worked and you wouldn't get it. Then, of course, they had to backtrack that and say, well, no, we never said that, even though they did. What they meant to say was that it's going to keep you from dying. It's all an absolute mess, complete incompetence at its very best, and obviously pure, unadulterated evil at its worst. Then you fast forward a handful of years, December 15th, 2023, from The Hill. Homelessness in the U.S. surges to highest recorded level. Then December 19th from The Independent, which is not conservative by any stretch of the imagination, they say Biden's approval rating plunges to all-time low. Then December 19th, once again from the Washington Examiner, Biden border crisis shatters record with 14,509 illegal immigrants encountered in one day. The illegal crossings are obviously through the roof. It is clear to anybody with two eyes that they are doing this on purpose now. These migrants, these asylum seekers, are acting a complete fool in Midtown Manhattan. They're incredibly rude and entitled. They are illegally riding the trains. They're all over the Phoenix airport. They're breastfeeding in the terminal. The entire thing is nuts, fam. The truth is matted in fiction. And after all that, Trump is the one that should be disqualified, because also on December 19th, in unison from every publication on the planet, Supreme Court removes Trump from states' ballot. So they have to do this to save democracy, of course. We know that most people don't really like Beau Biden, especially with this Israel-Palestine thing going on, but they don't have anybody else. Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, they're all just awful. So the only thing left is to get rid of Trump, and they are trying their hardest to do everything outside of completely getting rid of him, which wouldn't surprise me. And Tucker talked about how that's the next step. But that aside, I am no legal expert, but most people are saying that this is not going to fly. Even hard left weirdo publications like Slate and the Washington Compost are saying, the Supreme Court is going to have to turn this around. And some people are also pointing out that maybe some other states should remove Biden from the ballot, because if you looked half as hard for a crime committed by Beau Biden as you did for Donald Trump, you would definitely find something. There's illegals everywhere. For example, it's also pretty strange that the migrant hotels in New York are very heavily guarded. I certainly couldn't get in. ID? No, was...
You got your... No, I'm talking to someone. You got your ID?
No, I don't have my ID.
All right, there's a shelter. You need to have an ID.
Oh, you can't record it here, please.
Why not?
You can't record in here.
Why?
You're not allowed to record in here. He's recording. You cannot record in here.
What are you doing?
You cannot record in here, brother. Please go.
Why?
You have to get out.
Why not?
You don't belong in here.
Why?
All right, please get out.
So who belongs in here?
Not you.
If you took a fraction of that energy and took it to the border, maybe things would be different, but whatever. None of that matters. They need to fortify this election once again, because after 7 years of propaganda and race riots, inflation, some people are starting to see through this, and they may not do what we want them to do. So right now, you have no choice for democracy's sake.